federal judge there in the Southern District of New York has just sentenced Sean Diddy Combs to 50 months in prison, 4 years, and a little bit over 4 years in prison.
Rivah TV. What's up, guys? It's your girl Rivah, and I'm back again with another video. So it has just been announced that Diddy has been sentenced to a total of 50 months in prison. Okay, so that's a total of 4 years, and it's going to count the 14 months that he's already served while he's been in jail awaiting the court process and also the sentencing. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and walk you through all the steps of everything that happened today in the courtroom, what they were trying to do to, when it comes to his kids testifying, when it comes to or making a statement, I should say, when it comes to the letters that came in, everything that led up to this situation.
Today is the day that Diddy is getting sentenced, and he has submitted an 11-minute video that he is going to play today at his sentencing hearing. Another thing that we learned is Mia, Diddy's former assistant, who was a victim that Diddy was found not guilty for, is going to speak at his sentencing hearing in person. Diddy was trying to fight this, but the judge said everybody basically has a right to speak by law. We also know not only is Diddy going to play this video at his sentencing hearing, he is also going to speak, and he submitted a letter to the judge yesterday. We don't know if he's going to say something different or if he's going to read the letter that he sent to the judge. I'm going to go ahead and play you guys some of the video that Diddy created for this sentencing hearing that was put on the docket. I won't play the whole thing because it's 11 minutes long, but I will give you a preview.
What are you giving to the world? I don't think you know, man.
When my baby cries.
You gotta give her a bottle then. Know that you mean something to people. Know that you mean something to people, like you live somewhere in people's heart.
They have done everything that they can to kind of stop the ball rolling. They have, the judge has received letters from a lot of different people. And in receiving the letters, I thought it was so interesting because there was a mixture of people. There was a letter from his mother. There was a letter from rapper Young Miami, who we know the two of them had some kind of, relationship at some point recently. There was a letter from Cassie. There was a letter from Diddy's previous stylist. And, it would behoove me to believe that the evidence alone is one thing, but also all of the letters that they received definitely did not help or support him wanting to, get a retrial or whatever, or an acquittal of the trial at all.
It's gonna be rough, but if we get through it, then it'll show kids and everybody else that finish what you started and you can do anything you put your mind to. And y'all go to public school?
Yes.
Okay, y'all running to raise money for your schools, so y'all get more books and computers and stuff like that.
So on top of the judge already keeping all of this stuff in mind, and especially with respects to the testimony and the emails and all the kind of proof that Cassie had already set forth in the courtroom, Cassie also decided to send in another letter to the judge that reads this. So Cassie's letter reads, "I have been in a cycle of thought and then overthought writing this letter to you. If there is one thing I have learned from this experience, it is that victims and survivors will never feel safe." So Cassie's letter reads, "I have been in a cycle of thought and then overthought writing this letter to you. If there's one thing that I have learned from this experience, it is that victims and survivors will never be safe. Although I can hope for justice and accountability, I have come to not trust anything. I hope that your decision considers the truths at hand that the jury failed to see. For 4 days in May, while 9 months pregnant with my son, I testified in front of a packed courtroom about the most traumatic and horrifying chapter in my life. I testified that from age 19, Sean Combs used violence, threats, substances, and control over my career to trap me in over a decade of abuse. He groomed me into performing repeated S acts with hired male S workers during multi-day freak-offs, which occurred nearly weekly. I was forced into lingerie and heels, told exactly how to look, and plied with drugs and alcohol so he could control me like a puppet. These events were degrading and disgusting, leaving with infections, illnesses, and days of physical and emotional exhaustion before he demanded it all again. S acts became my full-time job, used as the only way to stay in his good graces. I testified that I learned to read Sean Combs' signals, knowing that when he spoke of freak-offs, he was demanding them, and that refusing meant punishment, losing my car, my phone, or worse. He controlled every part of my livelihood and threatened to destroy my reputation by leaking S-tapes, a threat he repeated often. His power over me eroded my independence and sense of self until I felt I had no choice but to submit. When he believed I had wronged him or was not sufficiently responsive, he also threatened people around me and those close to me, including my family. I regularly worried that displeasing him meant putting my family and friends' safety at risk. I testified how beyond these threats, Sean Combs frequently used violence to get his way. Over the nearly 11 years we were together, Sean Combs would hit me, punch me, stomp on my face, pull my hair, and throw my body to the ground and against the wall. The jury saw pictures of bruises on my back from Combs kicking me and saw the deep gash over my eye he caused when he slammed me into a bed frame. The entire courtroom watched actual footage of Combs kicking and beating me as I tried to run away from a freak-off in 2016. People watched this footage dozens of times, seeing my body thrown to the ground, my hands over my head, curled into a fetal position to shield me from the worst blows. The physical violence caused bruises that makeup artists paid for by Sean Combs would cover up, as well as permanent scars all over my body. During my time with Combs, I was in a constant state of hypervigilance, as I was always anticipating demands for S-acts and otherwise fearing retribution for any perceived slight. My descent into the substance abuse was directly correlated with his increased control over my body, my money, my freedom, and my free will. I used those drugs to push through the horrifying S-acts he demanded and to numb myself to the physical pain and emotional turmoil I was constantly in. While the defense attorneys at trial suggested that my time with Combs was akin to a great modern love story, nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing about this story is great, modern, or loving. This was a horrific decade of my life, stained by abuse, violence, forced and degradation. I spent the last 7 years of my life slowly rebuilding myself, physically getting clean from the drug abuse Sean Combs forced and encouraged, and mentally understanding how to live with a seemingly insurmountable level of trauma. The horrors I endured drove me to have thoughts of self-deletion, ones I almost followed through on, if not for my family's intervention and urging that I seek professional care. I have been to rehab and have taken part in dozens of types of therapy modalities to confront, compartmentalize, and cope with the horrific memories of and emotional abuse I endured for nearly 10 years. While what he did to me is always present, I am slowly learning how to live my life free of the fear and horrors I endured, and in doing so, am fully devoted to my husband and my children. I still have nightmares and flashbacks on a regular, everyday basis and continue to require psychological care to cope with my past. My worries that Sean Combs or his associates will come after me and my family is my reality. I have in fact moved my family out of the New York area, and am keeping as private and quiet as I possibly can because I am so scared that if he walks free, his first actions will be swift retribution towards me and others who spoke up about his abuse at trial. As much progress as I have made in recovering from his abuse, I remain very much afraid of what he is capable of and the malice he undoubtedly harbors towards me for having the bravery to tell the truth. His defense attorneys claim he is a changed man and he wants to mentor abusers. I know firsthand what real mentorship means, and this disgusts me. He is not being truthful. I know that who he was to me, the manipulator, the aggressor, the abuser, the trafficker, is who he is as a human. He has no interest in changing or becoming better. He will always be the same cruel, power-hungry, manipulative man that he is. When I came out with my allegations in my civil case, he flatly denied them again and again. It was only after actual video footage corroborated the exact words in my civil complaint that he issued an insincere apology on the internet. Thanks to the footage and my testimony, this is also something he will forever be associated with. For over a decade, Sean Combs made me feel powerless and unimportant, but my experience was real, horrific, and deserves to be considered. While the jury did not seem to understand or believe that I engaged in freak-offs because of the force and coercion the defendant used against me. I know that this is the truth, and his sentence should reflect the reality of the evidence and my lived experience as a victim. Reliving in detail the events and truths just described throughout the trial and this letter causes me tremendous emotional pain. I am trying with all that I am to move on. I hope that your sentencing decisions reflects the strength it took for victims of Sean Combs to come forward. I hope that your decision considers that many lives that Sean Combs has upended with his abuse and control. I thank you for your time and attention. That was a mouthful. Okay? That was absolutely a mouthful. And when seeing that letter and also reading it back to you guys, I want to just mention a couple of things. We cannot forget the past as it pertains to Cassie Ventura. Now, did we see firsthand Diddy putting his hands on Cassie? Absolutely, we did.
New surveillance footage obtained exclusively by CNN appears to corroborate some of the allegations of abuse against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs.
I do want everybody to keep in mind, though, that interestingly enough, remember, in the courtroom, she said that she still loves Sean.
I called this last night. I said, Cassie still got love for Diddy. She said it today in court. I still got love for him. I don't hate bruh. I don't hate him. I don't hate the years in the past. I guarantee you, if Diddy was to change his ways, they can't go back together because of the optics. But I can almost guarantee you, I don't know what Alex Fine do for her. He may be bored. I don't know how much they make. But if that black billionaire called her and said, baby, I ain't gonna hit you no more freak offs, no more drugs. I just want to have a conversation about it. I think she'll consider. I ain't gonna say she gonna do it now, because that would be a fool. But I think she will consider.
Sean Diddy Combs, the same, horrible man that's not changed, that will never change, that is nobody else, whatever. She said that she still loves him. She also said that, at one point when she had already broken free and the two of them were no longer in a relationship, she orchestrated a freak off.
She calls me for one encounter. I can't remember the exact year right now, but I remember it was cold. She's basically in my face, like telling me, go F myself. Men have sex with women all the time. Like, what's the big deal? She's discounting the fact that she forced herself on me on her menstrual cycle, which is technically a sexual assault.
And, most importantly, their relationship began at 19 when she was already in a relationship with Ryan Leslie. Used that relationship and got close with Sean Combs, dropped Ryan Leslie, who was Sean Combs' friend, and then began her relationship with Diddy.
And so I kept asking, what record is that? And Gwen told me that it was Ryan's act, it was Cassie. When I saw her and I met her and I saw this DVD on her, hopefully we can play that. That's what kind of made me really fall in love with the project, because I saw something more than just records.
So yes, there are a lot of things that she did endure in that relationship. I'm not taking away from any of that. I wasn't there. Y'all weren't there. We don't know 100% of exactly what happened. However, I also want to reiterate that it is important, again, for a lot of younger women to understand that just because it looks like the grass is greener on the other side does not mean that it is. Doesn't mean that. And a lot of times you can be positioning yourself for lifelong trauma, lifelong pain, lifelong hurt because of your curiosity. Because of thinking that, you leveling up to get with the next.
Is always going to be based on the choices that are made by the actual players. And so I think Cassie made a decision, Puffy's making decisions.
So obviously Cassie's letter went in, prior to anything happening in regards to the sentencing. And obviously Diddy and his team created his own letter as well, that they wanted to obviously read in the courtroom. So Diddy's letter says, I hope this letter finds you well and in good health and spirits. Thank you for the opportunity to express my thoughts to you. First and foremost, I want to apologize and say how sincerely sorry I am for all of the hurt and pain that I have caused others by my conduct. I take full responsibility and accountability for my past wrongs. This has been the hardest 2 years of my life, and I have no one to blame for my current reality and situation but myself. In my life, I have made many mistakes, but I am no longer running from them. I'm sorry for the hurt that I caused, but I understand that the mere words I'm sorry will never be good enough, as these words alone cannot erase the pain from the past. Over the past 13 months, I have had to look in the mirror like never before. My pain became my teacher. My sadness was my motivator. I have to admit, my downfall was rooted in my selfishness. The scene and images of me assaulting Cassie play over and over in my head daily. I literally lost my mind. I was dead wrong for putting my hands on the woman that I loved. I'm sorry for that and always will be. My domestic violence will always be a heavy burden that I will have to forever carry. The remorse, the sorrow, the regret, the disappointment, the shame. I honestly feel sorry for something that I couldn't forgive someone else for. If they put their hands on one of my daughters, this is why it is so hard for me to forgive myself. It is like a deep wound that leaves an ugly scar. Your Honor, I thought I was providing for Jane concerning her and her child, but after hearing her testimony, I realized that I hurt her. For this, I am deeply sorry. I lost my way. I got lost in my journey, lost in the drugs and the excess. My downfall was rooted in my selfishness. I have been humbled and broken to my core. Jail is designed to break you mentally, physically, and spiritually. Over the past year, there have been so many times that I wanted to give up. There have been some days I thought I would be better off unalived. The old me left in jail and a new version of me was reborn. Prison will change you or delete you. I choose to live. Every day since my incarceration, as difficult as my circumstances currently are, I have made the best of my time by reading books, writing, working out, or in therapy, obtaining the tools and knowledge to deal with my past drug abuse and anger issues. I have been putting in the work and working diligently to become the best version of myself to ensure that I never make the same mistakes again. I realize that I am in a situation where no amount of money, power, or fame can save me. Only God can save me. My grandmother used to teach me that God makes no mistakes and that everything he does is for your good. I believe that a bad situation can be used for good. Although this situation has been the hardest and darkest time in my life, good things have come out of my incarceration. For starters, I am now sober for the first time in 25 years. I have been trying my best to deal with my drug abuse and anger issues and take accountability as well as positive steps toward healing. One of the most beautiful things I have experienced is being asked by my fellow inmates to teach and mentor them. They wanted to learn what I did to become a successful businessman. I was inspired by their hunger and desire to learn information in order to not only set goals, but achieve any goal dream that their hearts desire. I started teaching a 6-week program called Free Game. The title was given to me by my fellow inmates, which I was able to have approved and sanctioned by the Bureau of Prisons. I don't just teach about my success, I also teach about my mistakes and failures. It has truly been a blessing to do something positive in a negative situation. It has been beautiful to see the newfound hope in my fellow inmates' eyes. The most shocking thing was to see the unity and the peace this class has produced. As you are probably aware, jails and prisons are segregated places. However, in our class, we have Black, Spanish, white, and Asian all together in one room, learning and working together. We even have an interpreter for the Spanish-speaking inmates. The biggest miracle that I've seen with this class is all of the gangs, such as Bloods, Crips, MS-13s, and all other different sections that he mentioned, in one room working together. I'm also proud to say that since this class started, there have been no fights in our unit. This class has also helped me in my time of need and despair. Being able to do something good for others has also given me much needed hope. God blessed me with this opportunity to help others, and I will continue to do so. I ask you for mercy today, not only for my sake, but for the sake of my children. God blessed me with 7 beautiful children, 3 sons and 4 daughters. Then he named all of his kids. And he was also talking about the fact that he was the only parent based off of what happened with Kim Porter. He talked about, losing his father. And then he also made it mention that more than anything, I just want the opportunity to return home and be the father that they need and deserve. God also blessed me with the greatest mother in the world. My mother sacrificed her life and dreams to provide for me and my younger sister. She worked 3 jobs to make sure we had a roof over our heads, clothes on our backs, and the best education. My mother is now 84 years old, and she recently had brain surgery. Despite her own health challenges, she attended my trial every day. I have always been her primary caregiver. It breaks my heart that I put myself in this situation, and for the first time, I am unable to be there for my mother when she needs me the most. As I write you this letter, I'm scared. scared to spend another second away from my mother and children. I no longer care about the money or fame. There is nothing more important to me than my family. I understand that one factor the court has to consider is deterrence. Deterrence for me and for others to ensure that no one follows in my footsteps and makes the same mistakes. For over a year, I have been locked in one room with 25 other incarcerated people sharing the same one room. In this room that I share, there are no windows, there is no natural clean air, there is no sunlight, and we all live in the one room. We eat, sleep, use the toilet, take showers, and prepare meals all in the same room. The conditions that my actions have placed me in are inhumane. I don't tell you this for pity or sympathy. I'm simply sharing my truth and the truth of my fellow incarcerated people. We have no clean drinking water, and we boil our drinking water. We all share one washing machine, which is broken. He said that he was surrounded by drugs and lived every day with the constant threat of being unalived or losing his life. Again, he says, I'm not expecting pity or sympathy, but my time at MDC has changed me forever. Prior to being in jail, I took care of and was present for my family. Being in jail and because of my conduct, I lost the ability to care for my mother. I lost the ability to effectively raise and support my children. I've missed my 3 daughters' proms and graduations. I have missed taking one of my daughters to college. I've lost the freedom to teach my 2-year-old how to speak, dance, play, or be there to console her when she falls down or has a nightmare. I started from nothing and worked hard to earn everything I had, but because of my conduct, I have lost all of my businesses. I've lost my career. I lost the charter schools that I started, and I have destroyed my reputation and stained the reputation of those that worked for me. I lost my being present with my family. Between all of my losses and lessons, I can state for a fact that I will never be in another criminal courtroom again, and I do not believe any other person would do anything similar from fear of similar punishment. If you give me a chance, I would like the opportunity to share my story with people to prevent at least one person from making the mistakes that I've made. I can't change the past, but I can change the future. I know that God put me here to transform me. Since incarceration, I have gone through a spiritual reset. I'm on a journey that will take time and hard work. I'm proud to say that I'm working harder than I ever have before. I'm committed to the journey of remaining a drug-free, nonviolent, and peaceful person. I thank God that I'm stronger, wiser, clean, clearer, and sober. God makes no mistakes. I realize that this trial has received a tremendous amount of global press, and Your Honor, you may be inclined to make an example out of me. I would ask Your Honor to make an example of what a person can do if afforded a second chance. If you allow me to go home to my family, I promise I will not let you down, and I will make you proud. Today, I humbly ask for another chance to be a better father, another chance to be a better son, another chance to be a better leader in my community, and another chance to live a better life. I'm writing this not to gain any sympathy or pity. This experience is simply the truth of my existence and has changed my life forever, and I will never commit a crime again. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sean Combs. Now, of course, it sounds good. Right. And I would expect him to write some sort of like apology letter or say something on his own behalf, as he knows and he's aware of all these other letters that are coming in of people who don't want him to come out. So it would obviously behoove him to say something on his own behalf. However, a lot of the things that he even said in this letter of talking about the conditions and what he's going through and stuff like that. My personal opinion, I feel like he should have just left that stuff out. Because that's what jail is, okay? Jail is not a country club. It's not a place that you're going to go and have all the luxuries that you were used to. It is going to be, a space that you are going to have to face the music. Now, he did, appear in his letter to take a lot of accountability. He kept blaming himself for the situation. He kept saying, it was him that put himself in that predicament, and that takes a lot of ownership. Obviously, the prosecutors didn't want to hear that, okay? It had already come out that he had not only had pre-booked speaking engagements next week in Miami, but also a lot of stuff came forth in which, the prosecutors were nitpicking the letter and basically saying, like, we don't want to hear any of that.
Diddy's sentencing has just now started, and it started off with a bang already. Diddy's former assistant, who went by the pseudonym Mia, who testified against Diddy in this trial and who was listed as a victim, but Diddy was ultimately found not guilty for the conduct that referenced Mia, was supposed to speak in person at his sentencing hearing today. But now that looks like that's not going to happen. Government asked the judge if Mia could come and talk in person at Diddy's sentencing hearing, and Diddy was not happy about it. Him and his lawyers wrote a pretty nasty letter attacking Mia and a lot of the other government witnesses, calling them all liars. The judge did say that Mia is allowed to give this statement in person today at Diddy's sentencing hearing, and that's what we were all expecting. Now we are learning from the government first thing during the sentencing hearing that Mia no longer wishes to address the court here today, in part due to the letter submitted by Diddy and his team for bullying. Government says, "We think the defense's letter violated your honor's rules." And the judge said, "I thought the tone was inappropriate and it should not happen again." Very first thing off the bat, it looks like Mia is not going to be giving the statement in person today because Diddy and them were bullying her in that letter. Other thing that's being reported is we're not going to hear from another one of Diddy's ex-girlfriends who was victim number 2 in Diddy's criminal case, who went by the pseudonym of Jane. And mind you, one of the charges that Diddy got found guilty of revolved around Jane. And what makes this a little bit more interesting, not only will we not hear from her in person, but she also didn't submit a letter to the judge like a lot of other people like Cassie Ventura and others did. Diddy's sentencing hearing has begun, and he is going over all of the enhancements that would possibly make Diddy serve a longer sentence. There are some big rulings that he makes that are not good for Diddy. Diddy and his team were fighting that acquitted conduct should not be used when the judge is determining his sentence, but the judge just ruled that he in fact can consider some of the acquitted conduct. The judge then goes over to Diddy objecting to characterizing Cassie Ventura and Jane as victims, and he said that that's overruled, that they are victims. He said that Diddy also objects to the escorts being characterized as victims, and he said that this is overruled, saying that these escorts and Cassie and Jane are all victims. They were transported for the purpose of engaging in commercial acts, and that means in total there would be 10 victims referenced in Diddy's sentencing. The judge then goes on to talk about coercion that Diddy is trying to object to, saying you shouldn't be able to use that to give me a bigger sentence. But he is saying the threat to release videos and the incident at Jane's home, that is coercion. The judge then talks about how Diddy said that he was paying for time and not the physical relations, and he said that is contradicted by reality. He has not expressed remorse for transporting people for prosta. He goes on to say that Diddy has challenged his guilty verdict full-throttedly, including after trial. Also goes on to say that Diddy wants to apply the 0-point offender provision from 2003, but 2004 on other issues, and that's not possible. Also said Diddy objects to the $5,000 assessment under the statute because there are no victims. Denied. Because mind you, what he just ruled is there's actually 10 victims in total. And Diddy's team basically says they want to leave some stuff on the record just in case they file an appeal, which I say is going to happen because they already said they will appeal this. Usually appeals aren't successful, but what the judge says next is a big deal. Probation department says offense level is 27. I agree with that. The criminal history category is 1. That leads to a guideline of 70 to 87 months, which is 5 to 7 years, in which I said the judges usually fall in line with the probation department. This isn't his final ruling. He is going to hear from everybody, but this is telling you exactly where this judge's head's at so far, and that's a big deal. And so far, it's looking like Diddy is going to get nowhere close to the 14 months or time served that he's asking for.
Now, having a pre-booked engagement for a week from now is a little bit presumptuous, to say the least. Okay, I'm just gonna keep it real with you. Like, already, you know, stuff that he put in some of the things that he put in his like apology letter, as I said to you guys before. But then having a pre-booked engagement, making it seem as though you were just so sure and aware of the fact that you were getting out of prison today or jail today is too much. Okay, I think actions like that alone would kind of deter the judge who already has certain ideas of how you're coming forward. And as you know, Diddy said in his letter, who already has the mindset of like, okay, I'm going to make an example out of you. You have funds, you have fame, you have all these things, you have resources, and I'm going to let it be known that nobody's going to be able to do or pull off these things just because they have a bag, right? But again, you know, the judge already had a certain mindset towards him, and so it looks as though he's moving with ego. So everything that he put in an apology letter, knowing that he had a pre-booked engagement, can make it seem like that's all a farce. You know, what happened next after this whole situation was that his children did get the opportunity to speak and also kind of say their piece and kind of plead their case in getting their father out of jail.
Diddy's children speak about their father at his sentencing hearing, and they honestly don't have a lot of time to say much, but they were given a little bit of time to say something. Quincy starts off by saying he's transformed. He will not jeopardize his freedom again. As his children, we wish to heal together. Next up is Diddy's son, Justin. I ask you to give my father a second chance. My father is my superhero. My father always told me to believe in God. Talk to my father every day, every other hour. Next is Christian Combs. I am the one who most resembles my pops, my mannerisms. My whole life I studied my dad up and down. He's the greatest man in the world, my superhero. He told me to treat women like a queen, and I do. I see in his eyes, as his twin, that he has changed. My name is Jessie Combs, and I am 18 years old, and she cries. When my mother passed away, I was just a little girl. I remember my dad sitting us down. It helped me survive when I just wanted my mom. My name is Chance Combs, his daughter. He's changed, and she starts crying. Sorry, he speaks with a clear mind. My name is Delilah Combs. We watch our 2-year-old sister. She cannot grow up fatherless. Honor, please, and she starts crying. Let us move forward, not as a headline, but as a family. The judge says, thank you all. This is important for me to hear. And then they start playing that 11-minute video that I shared earlier that Diddy made.
Now, after his kids went up there and said whatever they said, the judge wasn't trying to hear it. Okay, the judge was not trying to hear it at all. The judge actually made a statement before he announced the sentencing, and he said, that basically he felt like the 11 years that the prosecution wanted was too much time, and then he also felt like the 50 months, the total of 4 years, was not enough time. Okay, the judge said that, based off of the apology letter that he received from Diddy and all that, the judge said, and I quote, "You say that you're sorry and that you won't do it again, but after Ms. Ventura's civil lawsuit was filed, after the video went public and the investigation had already started, you had a brutal hotel night with Jane and punched her in the head." The judge also referenced Jane's account, which said that he told her to take a pill and go sleep with somebody. The judge also mentioned, he said, exploitation and violence against women must be met with real accountability to promote respect for the law. So, as I said before, even though he let out the sentencing and he let it be known, what the actual situation was going to be, he was not happy about it. Okay, he wasn't happy about it. He felt like, they were taking him for a joke. He didn't like the fact that, Diddy came to the court with already stuff that was booked for next week if he got out of jail today. It felt a little bit, cocky, for lack of better words. But I think that this is such a crazy situation. A lot of people thought that they were literally going to throw the book at him, and so a lot of people are very confused by this situation. They don't know how to feel. They don't know what to think. And then my question is, if he goes to jail for 40 years, if he goes to jail for 4 years, what is justice? What is justice in these situations? You know what I mean? Like, even just, the truth of the matter of things that did happen and that we know for sure, what does justice look like? I'd like to know you guys' opinions on all of that in the comment section down below. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next one. Love you.
Rivah TV.